Hey guys, welcome back to the Daehan podcast. A very special episode today. My first ever repeat guest. You guys know him, fan favorite. You guys love him. I kind of do as well. Welcome back, Roman. Happy to have you on again. What's up, buddy?
Let's run it back for episode 2. Loud and proud. Glad to be back. What's going on, man?
I'm not gonna lie, I love the podcasting. I know you're a big supporter as well. I think you're my number one supporter, even over my girlfriend. I think you're my number one support. And
sorry, Katie.
Yes, exactly. But you've been bringing me guests like left and right, and I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said back in episode 1, where it hits a little different when you get to see, someone very near and dear to you just do well, succeed, and start something of his own and get to watch that thing grow.
Yeah, I know. I seen you do it. Now it's my turn to do it, right?
That's right.
Yo, so I was outside working out today. I was at home in middle school, and I wanted to talk to you about sports because you are a former college athlete. I wanted to go into the benefits of playing sports. I didn't start playing sports until when I was in middle school. I think playing sports or doing activities like that, where there's like teamwork involved, a lot of exposure to other people in a very stimulating environment like that, I think it's very, very positive and very important. So, I mean, you played at all levels, so I want to pick your brain on like the benefits of playing sports, interacting with different people, especially with all walks of life. So if you can just kind of go back from even when you first started, maybe Pee-wee or like first grade, what have you, just any sports you played when you were younger and sort of the positivity that you got out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't start playing sports till later in middle school for really reasons unknown. I think I always had the green light from my mom to play sports. I just think it took a little bit of that self-interest within me to develop and for me to find out like, hey, like I love sports and I'd love to get paid to play them one day. Now, I've never really gotten paid to play sports one day. So, yeah, I think it just took for me to develop that interest to find out, hey, I really love sports and I want to go out and try it. And that was all she wrote, starting in seventh grade in middle school and then moving on to high school. And then in high school, having the opportunity to try different sports now. And then kind of at the end of high school deciding, hey, which one am I going to play in college? I had a few different options to play.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah,
you had options.
Very small time. Small time.
Still,
I'm a firm believer that anyone can go play anywhere in any sport if they put their mind to it, and with a little bit, obviously, of natural talent, right? Yeah, and then decided to hone in on one throughout college. College career didn't really work out how I wanted it to, but still blessed with the experience and the knowledge that I have, and then immediately got out of college, saw very little opportunity to go and play at a more serious level, so just decided to turn around and coach high school sports now.
That's awesome. So going back to your middle school days, what was the first sport that you picked up?
Football. Seventh grade tryouts, football, showed up, out of shape, worst kid on the team. I'm even like embarrassed and afraid to tell people what my 40 time was. And
you guys did a 40 when you were in 7th grade? We did
a 40 when I was in 7th grade. And this was like before the housing bubble. Yeah, so early 2000s, we actually did a 40 hand-timed, and the PE teacher was my football coach. I couldn't even tell you I don't even think I ran in a straight line. Like I thought it was like a suicide or something.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was bad, man. Didn't know anything about anything. I remember playing in games, but because, at that level,
that's true.
Everyone gets to,
everyone
play. And literally had no idea what was going on. 7th grade, 8th grade, same thing. Nothing really changed, right?
Yeah.
Except I probably grew a little taller, gained some weight, right? And just literally had no idea conceptually what the game was about, what it did. You got to remember, too, born in Ukraine, parents are European, soccer, biggest sport, right, in Europe. But my mother actually grew up playing basketball, just naturally gravitated to basketball as well, loved basketball. And then just kind of all my friends were talking about football, and I was just like, okay, well, let's just try it out. And it just did not go that well. And eventually throughout high school and, developing a craft and putting your eyes on the prize and even using it as a means to afford college.
Yeah.
And backing that up with a grind, with a work ethic, with resilience.
So when you first started, Well, for those of you who don't know, Roman's like 6'6". This man's really, really tall. He's built like that. But when you first started, like, well, you said you were out of shape, but how tall were you back then?
I was 6 foot going into high school.
Oh, damn, already.
So I was probably close to 6 foot at the end of middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hit my growth spurt sophomore year of high school and then ended up jumping to 6'4", and then probably throughout the second half of high school grew to 6'6".
Jeez.
Yeah.
It didn't stop, did it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like I said, definitely blessed, man. That advantage helped me in every single sport that I played.
Oh, absolutely.
But it wasn't just that, because I know a lot of people that are my height that are just uncoordinated and bad at what they do. And I know a lot of people that are a lot shorter, smaller than I am, that are a whole lot more athletic than I am and a whole lot more athletic than a lot of people that I know,
Yeah.
So it's takes both sides,
Because I remember when I played, similar to you, I played football. That was my first sport, and that was the only sport I played. But, man, I hated practice. I hate everything about it. It was so hard.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, conditioning, like hitting, like I was just not used to that. I think I played just to, like, make friends.
Like a social thing.
Yeah, I think so. And to get out of the house. Probably, I think improve. Well, I think at that point my English was pretty on par. But I think I was doing it for all those reasons, to, like, just get out of the house more and just do things. And my parents were like, no, I think it would be good for you to do something like that. So I started using football as a vehicle to do that. But, man, I hated it. I think I hated it so much that I would take the bus home and then go to my friend's house. And then when football practice is over, my friend's mom would drive me back to school, so my dad or my brother would pick me up from quote-unquote football practice. I hated it that much. Yeah.
I actually thinking about it now and just talking and airing it out, that my self-interest in middle school was partially influenced by the notion that the cool kids were doing it and played sports, right?
That's true.
I wanted to be the guy that was just like the jock,
Yeah.
stereotypical jock.
Yep.
And I just really thought girls at that time would like that.
I think especially the cool, like, dudes, they definitely played sports. They were the athletic dudes. I don't know about, well, you were doing 40-yard times, so you guys were doing another level, but my guy was like a, redneck type of coach. He was like, let's hit, let's run. Like, he was that type of guy. But how was your experience for you playing for your middle school team?
There are distinct moments and memories that
Yeah.
I have and that I remember, but from an organizational standpoint, it just wasn't good. I mean, truly, I'm sure there are middle schools out there somewhere in America that just run it and, they're undefeated, they're really good,
Yeah.
and they really develop kids well. This was kind of like, we won 1 or 2 games a year.
Same.
I actually, missed games during those seasons. I just didn't go to games that I didn't want to go to.
Really?
Because the commitment factor to the sport that I was playing wasn't developed yet.
Yeah.
So, built up some self-interest, thought it was cool, wanted to do it because I thought, air quotes, the popular kids were doing it. And then the commitment factor didn't really follow. I was just like, I could still do whatever I want and miss games if I want to. Unfortunately, never missed a game, after middle school. But definitely middle school, didn't take it. There was absolutely nothing that I learned because I just don't think anyone, self-agency, like I say all the time, has to take into effect sooner or later. And, I didn't really take the time to study the game and understand it. But at the same time, no one really sat me down and explained, like, hey, you're in this position because we're trying to do X, and you need to step this way to accomplish this goal. And just all those very basic, big overarching theme things.
I agree, and especially because we come from an immigrant background, like that's not our first sport. At least not when I was a kid.
Was not my first sport. Right?
You know what I mean? Like like you said, soccer is like the international sport, really. But obviously in America, it's football. But when I started, that was a huge learning curve. I did not know how to tackle. I did not even know how to hold on to a football. None of those things. So that in itself was a huge learning curve, and we'll get into our high school days as well. But now just looking back, and the whole reason I bring this up is because I just saw a bunch of kids getting together, like bonding, even in COVID, like times. Like I'm like, man, that is so good for their development. It's pretty. I would say it's almost a needed. Well, I mean, obviously you can do band and things like along those lines, but to be in a controlled environment where you're continuing to fail, continuing to work hard, there's discipline, there's success, teamwork, all those things into one. And I think that is why sports is so important, so critical, it's so prevalent. And probably, man, I feel like we're on a parenting podcast here because the part one, we're talking about parenting advice. And again, we're only 26-year-olds, but I cannot stress the importance of playing sports when you're younger, just looking back at it now.
Yeah, I think something that is key to a child's development is being in an environment with a diverse group of people that are trying to accomplish one goal, whether that be music, choir, band, sports, different clubs, whatever it may be, as long as that exposure is there to, again, that different group of people trying to unify towards that one goal and accomplish that goal. That's great. I think one of the worst things you can do in the development of a child or a teenager is just leave them alone with no goals. Yeah. Right? It's like, hey, what's the point?
Jiu-jitsu, golf, it's very mental. I think there is a lot of development and stimulation in a young kid's mind. I mean, especially when you're a guy, you don't really need a whole lot of stimulation, you know. It's very beneficial, I think, to development. And as you get older, I think that carries over. Like what you learn playing sports, hard work you got to put in, concept of working hard, concept of doing something continuously to develop a skill. I think that carries over. And you said diverse group of people coming together for one goal. I mean, that's what you say in an interview, you know, to impress somebody, you know, for like a potential employee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all that is very translated to as you grow up, you can get jobs that way. You can call upon those experiences and skills for future endeavors.
Yeah, I will say that the downside to all that is I've seen to the extreme parents push their kids.
Yeah.
And now their kids are, you know, have ankle weights at the age of 5 and are doing drills at 6 and 7 years old. And it was never really like the kid's decision, or they didn't display the interest first. And that's all they're doing is just, I guess, reliving like their parents' dreams or goals for them.
Yeah.
And I just see them, you know, do their thing in middle school and high school, guys that I played with, and then burn out and never want to touch a football again. And even make it to college, play college, and then never touch a football or even want to touch a football again after that, just because of that pressure that we talked about, like in episode 1. And I just think that's in every realm that we're going to talk about. I'm back to just let the kid decide.
As you should, whether it's sports or like freaking beauty pageants or becoming a singer or becoming like famous nowadays. I think that's very wrong to, as a parent, to use your vehicle to accomplish things that you can achieve in your lifetime. And granted, I'm sure you have good intention in mind, but you got to let the kid do whatever he wants. But I'm just coming from an angle where abilities, the skills, the mind development a young child goes through, especially playing sports, I think it's very uncomparable. It's a very controlled environment. Like you're not going to, just because you lose, you're not going to like lose like your money, you know, when you're a kid.
Right, like lose your mortgage,
your like
marriage.
That's why I say like it's a controlled like experiment essentially. Like you can lose. Losing is great because you learn from it. There's always something.
That doesn't mean I like it though.
Well, yeah, but that's the beauty of it, right? You don't want
utilities. Yes, it serves a purpose.
Yeah, and of course, in the business sense as well, you have to lose in order to gain experiences and knowledge to win. As a kid, that's awesome because even though you lose, it doesn't affect any of the aspect of your life. Now, I mean, like you want to win every game, but your money's not taken away from you. Your mortgage is not taken away from you. So you learn those valuable skills in a controlled environment.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful things that sports spectators and fans overlook is the coming together of people from all different backgrounds and experiences, all putting that aside, still functioning within their personality to a certain degree, but ultimately unifying towards whatever the leader of that group's goal is. And I think that is just beautiful from any age, right? Whether it's youth league to professional sports, I think everyone has a story that they bring to the table, and to see them put that story aside or show the result of that story in a loss or a win, I think that to me is farther than the wins and losses at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is a great point. You talk about sports supersedes everything. There's no race, there's no barriers to it. You come together and play. And it's about that competition, it's about teamwork, it's all about all those things that really benefits you and takes out all the X factors, and you just that unity, which is awesome. But to go back to, and for the listeners, you did the whole shabam. You played high school, and then you were good enough to play in college. Looking back now, would you do anything differently to change maybe the outcome or your trajectory of where you would have gone to, or different schools, different divisions? Did you have changed anything about it?
All in all, everything happens for a reason. But if it were in my control, there's a lot that I would change. Yeah, one of my biggest regrets in life is that I shouldn't take in that. I believe in every athlete, because we're just talking about athletics here.
Yeah.
The same principle I believe can apply to anyone. That there comes a certain time where there's a fork in the road, and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or try and get paid for it. And this is just going to be a hobby, and I like it, and I'll just do it when, I have the convenience or the time to do so, right? So I made that decision early on in high school that I wanted to have school paid for. I knew that I wasn't really going to get much financial help from my parents or anyone else, just due to the nature of our situation. So I knew that I had to step it up and find a way to try and get school paid for. And so I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. For one, I thought that I could do it all myself, which is a big no-no.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. I didn't take it as seriously as I should. I made a lot of bad decisions on the weekends that impacted my Mondays, which impacted my Tuesdays.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
there's just like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Right. But that comes with also life experience, learning, maturity. Right. I just wish that those life experiences and lessons in maturity hit me a little harder, because who knows where anyone ends up if they were to treat their sport like a 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
And you just have to make it. You just have to do it. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what you work on. And that's really it. And what better time in someone's life than when they have no serious responsibilities?
Absolutely.
To try and hone in on what they're focused on, and to try and get paid off of that, or have that pay for something else, and then have that be an avenue to even, something else. So a lot of regrets, man. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you recall high school days, I mean, I think we have a laundry list of regrets or things you wish you didn't do or you wish you have done, especially with sports, because like, oh, I wish I knew this during that game, because then it could have changed the whole tempo of how I played, how it would impact the team's chances to win, how I would have beat this guy, that guy. But you talk about giving more effort, or you wish you tried harder. Would that mean maybe not going out as much on the weekends, to focus, maybe to watch film, or just take care of your body more? Like, what certain things would you have done differently? Because I'm sure there are some athletes listening to this who are in that maybe high school age, or just transitioning to college, and maybe doing some of the things that you already did, but if they're looking for that edge, they're looking for a couple things that would change their maybe trajectory of their college recruiting from maybe D3 to D2, D2 to a D1, what would you advise them?
Yeah, great question. And when I mean by weekend decisions, I mean like working on the weekends. So due to the nature of my circumstances and just life situation that I was in at that time, I was just worried about, making whatever I thought was an end, making those ends meet, and paying off those bills. And so I decided to, do my thing Monday through Friday, work out with the team, get a couple extra practices in, and then I spent all weekend working, trying to crank out as many hours as I can to make a paycheck and put that towards something. And I would just be burnt out. And I was really not actually giving my 100% to either, but I should have just been giving my 100% to sports, right? Because for everyone listening out here, there's always in this life, in America, there'll always be a time where you can make money. You can always do it later in life, and actually when you want to, right? I mean, there's a difference between when you need to and when you want to, but you'll always have a chance to make money if you want to, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, why even do that in middle school or high school? Or even, college, man. You can always do that later. Why not focus on what you want to before that next stage of life kicks in and you start? That want to becomes now you have to, because you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe one day others.
Yeah. To me, that is perfect because you really want to focus on exactly what you want to head towards. And your trajectory is going to be different if you put in all that effort. I mean, it's true. What you put in is what you're going to get. Now, there are bad breaks, of course, but
Sure.
to really maximize what you want to do, your dreams, your outcome, the work has to be there, and you're really highlighting the fact that you wish you went 100% on your sports. Even on the weekends, you'll be watching film, or you'll be lifting, or you'll be doing that extra sprint to give you that edge to be able to come on Monday and be ready to go, to be ready to rock, to be sharper, to be not only better physically, but mentally. Do you regret now working on the weekends? Do you think that kind of work ethic, or working to afford maybe supporting your parents or creating a little more funds for your college, do you think that was a complete waste of time?
So I wouldn't say complete waste of time. I don't think anything is a complete, absolute waste of time, because everything serves a lesson in itself. It's just, could I have redirected my energy and my time and my thoughts towards something better? So it's just, how could I have done it better? Because I wouldn't have, gone back and changed it, because, that work ethic really set the foundation for, my work ethic for the rest of my life to come.
Yeah.
Started early, worked a bunch, right? Hopefully we'll piggyback off that and continue to work hard, right? So I wouldn't have changed that. I just wish I was just smarter with it.
Was there anyone coaching you through this? Like, hey, maybe it's because the immigrant background. We're so, at least for me, we're so used to like working. And I saw my brothers work at a very young age. So it was never like, sports was just a hobby for us. It was never like a means to an end. It was like, you're going to NFL, you're going to NBA. It was never like that. So it makes sense to, you should play sports, but you should also work on the weekends.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't go back and change a thing, because that's just, how life is. If I could, I'd go back and redirect my energy and thoughts. It's just, if I were to give advice to my younger self or to anyone else, it's just live life at that age, as safely and as smart as possible, but just do it while I can't go and, drop my job now or drop my companies now and just go play football.
That's true.
Right? That's just not going to pay the bills for me. That's just not in the cards for me. So why not do it? Because I'm a firm believer that every stage of life grants you the access to focus on something. And to me, I see, from when you're born to when you die, I just see the level of responsibility when you're first born being little to none, and then really kind of increasing, peaking probably, somewhere a third or halfway through your life. And then hopefully it's on the way down from there, So when you divvy up that peak
Mm-hmm.
and those seasons of responsibility, I think it's like, man, when you don't have as many serious responsibilities, why not focused on what you want to do or what you think is going to set you up better in the future? And for me, that was sports in middle school and high school, and that's just not what I honed in on. And now sitting here on this podcast talking about it as a regret.
That is an absolute good advice, especially for the younger folks. I know you have a lot of things going on.
Older folks too. Mark
That's
my
true.
words. You should not be working that hard when you're about to retire. Just,
Yeah.
cool if you want to, but if you have to, not cool.
So what are you telling the folks to do?
I don't know what I'm trying to tell them to do, but I just hope that when they're about to retire, like I hope my parents don't have to work when, when they come to that retirement age.
Yeah.
If they want to, and it's out of just, free will, great, good for them, more power to them. I'm sure maybe when, if I get to that age, if I'm blessed enough to get to that age, I don't think I could just be sitting around the house doing nothing. I'll probably just go do something that I like for whatever it may pay or whatever, just because, I'm bored and it's of interest to me, but not because I have to. For those that have to, I just, I apologize. I'm sorry. And I hope that you don't have to soon, because if you're, on the, last third or quarter of your life, enjoy it.
Honestly, I think people need stimulation. I think people need to do things, especially at an older age.
100%.
I think there is a rate where if you don't have, not saying a job, or if you don't have a community you connect with, or you're not like doing, I don't know, golf, even at a older age, that sense of connectedness, that sense of purpose, without that, humans really suffer mentally, physically. So even if you are in a great position where you don't have to work, I think you should do something. Join a club, join an organization, join something that gives you purpose, something you enjoy, even at an older age, that you can do safely, of course, that will make retirement actually retirement and enjoyable, because you're retiring to have more time, right? To actually do what you want. But the purpose of retirement is not to just retire and just sit on your butt all day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
not retirement.
It's to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Exactly.
And I think this goes back to what we were talking about before, how that humans are just tribal. And I think the experiences and lessons you can learn from humans being tribal and needing to gather with other humans and tell stories and all that good stuff. I think that definitely plays into effect what someone should do when they're retired. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. But then again, like I want to travel the world by myself, you know. But I would love to share that with other people as well. And ultimately,
your significant other. I know you got one.
Yes. So I take that back. I just put my foot in my mouth and just say my words there. Sometimes I just want to hop on a plane and go somewhere myself, though.
I agree.
If you don't mind me asking you this. Would you take this international? I mean, would you go set up shop somewhere international and not even maybe speak in another language? But I mean, would your aspirations ever lead you, overseas for this podcast? If you got invited, to do an episode with someone affluent in London, would you do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole reason I wanted to start the podcast is to meet other people, and this is the vehicle to do that. At least in my opinion. If I get to a point where I'm in a blessed opportunity to talk to someone in London, India, so I don't know where, but just talking to different people, different walks of life, oh, absolutely, I'm taking it. But even if I get to a place where this podcast is huge and I'm like, making good money and I have to, have a lot of things, I would like to just have a more of a remote, closed-in type of space where I'm just kind of living on my own, more on the country side of things, like where I'm secluded. And I have my podcast, and I don't air all of the stuff, but I would rather have people come into like my place and have a nice like studio.
Your world, your environment.
Yeah, of course I'll go to different places,
Sure.
like on business trips, but to constantly be on the road and doing all those things, I'm not that type of guy. I'm just a homebody. I like being at home, the dog, the wife, like just that very slow pace. Like I'd rather have like a lot of land that I can take care of on my own, but podcast as a vehicle, as income obviously, and to meet other people, interesting people. Oh yeah, that's probably my dream life.
Yeah, and I only say that just because with certain ventures that people are taking, I know that they're comfortable at certain levels and scales. So I just didn't know what your aspirations were. So I thought I'd just pick your brain about it, because I know some people just want to, keep it south of 100 monthly listeners and just do it out of their garage and just chill. And to them, that's what they want to do. And that's great. So I just was just trying to gauge, when I should start buying plane tickets and stuff.
Honestly, though, I think that's a great topic you bring up, because nowadays, we go back to social media again, but it is a tool, a great tool, obviously, but every time I get on there, it's always about someone's highlight. I think you said that. It's a place to go to see everyone's highlight in life. But that is not realistic. And when you continue to look at those things, you continue to feel like I'm not good enough. I need more money. I need more things. I need everything better that I have currently. And you get away from this stage where you're grateful for where you should be grateful every day. I mean, this thing called life, that's a gift every day from whatever higher being. For me, it's God. And you and I, it's God. When we get away from that, I think our quality of life decreases. But long story short, I think we should not feel like just because other people have different things, different lifestyles, it doesn't mean we should feel like we need that, because we absolutely don't. My goals and aspirations are completely different from yours. You can be 100% well off with maybe a 50K job, and that's great. That's great. And you have a great family, great whatever, and whatever importance to you is all there. That's a great life to you. To me, it's different. I have different aspirations. So,
yeah, and I think that's a good topic that you bring up, social media, right? We talked about it on episode 1, here back again talking about it on episode 2. And I just want to, social media in sports, and specifically the NCAA, have something very much in common. And when I was invited back to do episode 2, today I was doing some researching and found something very interesting. And I think I highlighted it episode 1. But so now we are living in what's called like a creator economy.
Yeah.
Where everyone has the capability or capacity now to create something.
Yeah, boy.
And yeah, exactly. And to showcase that on social media. And now everyone, social media platforms and other large platforms, are scrambling, trying to figure out how to get them paid, and paid better than other people are, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so I was reading that Vine, do you remember Vine?
Yeah.
Vine is 6-second video clip.
That's kind of like similar to TikTok, is it not?
It is. Here's what Vine's downfall was that they failed to get their subscribers, their content creators, the people that were pushing people to Vine. They failed. Vine, as a company, organization, failed to get them paid. So everyone fled Vine and went to something else at the time.
Yeah.
That could be monetized. And I mean, that's the world that we live in now, where, hey, if you're not going to pay me for what I create and who I bring to the table and bring the awareness and the marketing that I bring to your platform that I'm a part of, that I'm on, then I'll just go to the next highest bidder, which goes into the NCAA of,
yeah. Oh, good segue.
If I can get you to buy my jerseys, if I can be in a video game, if I can do all this and bring more, sell, monetize my likeness, my name, why shouldn't I get paid?
Yeah.
Everyone else is getting paid for it, right?
They hide behind that current, oh, you're a college athlete,
Yeah, which is fine, because I think at a certain point in time, don't quote me on this because I could be wrong, that there was some utility to that conversation, but that was probably in a time where social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? TV contracts weren't millions and billions of dollars.
Yep.
And the NCAA wasn't $1 trillion industry.
Yeah.
So now that argument does not still stand. It is a very age-old argument. And the restrictions, even playing in the NCAA, playing at a Division III level, were pretty crazy. And then you have to think like, hey, no one's going out and buying, my jersey at a Division III school.
Yeah.
Right? Even smaller Division I schools. But for those people that are really bringing those extra set of eyes, and just eyes in general, to the TV screen on Saturdays, why not pay them?
Yeah.
Why not?
That's another
There's enough money.
There's a lot of money. But, people want their pockets fatter,
That's right. That's absolutely right. But I mean, name another industry where I provide you education, housing board, food, maybe some sort of little monthly stipend, maybe not for everyone, and I can make so much more money than you. Like the value that's brought to the table by your likeness and your image, and then what I actually give you, if we were to display that in dollar figures, would not add up. Now, granted, I will say in the workforce that we're in, they're never going to add up. What I bring to my company, what I do for my company, and what my company makes, even when I was a W-2 income earner, right, is always going to be more than what I'm being paid, right? Because the company has to make money.
Yeah,
right. They're putting me in a position to work, bring in sales, dollar figures, either through sales or services for the company, right? And a good rule of thumb is that you're responsible for probably triple or quadruple what you're being paid for. You're bringing that back in to the company. Good rule of thumb.
Mm-hmm.
That same measurement is not applied when it comes to the NCAA. It is far, far greater. Like the extremes are way higher and lower.
Yeah.
You get paid less, you bring in more. And, I'll be one of those people that advocate for narrowing that gap down. Now, do I think the floodgates should open and we should talk about boosters and donors that could promise you 6-7 figure jersey deals if you were to go play here? Probably not. Just like with everything, there needs to be a little bit of oversight and regulation. How much? I don't exactly know.
Yeah.
But there definitely needs to be some sort of regulation. It can't be like a free-for-all. We just go to the highest bidder. The biggest colleges with the biggest sponsors and the biggest donors and the biggest endowments.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah. I would too. And I'm pretty sure ask 9 people out of 10, they'll probably go to the highest bidder.
Right. Everyone follows the money.
Going back to the creators' age that we live in, do you think that's a bad thing? Do you think that's a good thing?
I think to be determined. I think it's just one of those life things. I think it's great. The opportunity is out there to make other streams of income other than just, an every 2-week paycheck, W-2 income earner working a corporate job, right? So I think when it comes to the creativity and the number of avenues that we have now to make more money, I think that's great. I'm all for that. It's a great aspect of capitalism. The downside to that is your life's going to revolve around it, right? Publicity, privacy, right? For me personally, that's very important. So I can't go be, a social media star and cast my personal life out all on the internet. Some people can. I personally don't want to. But, there's just good and bad to it all. But I'm just curious. I'm more so curious to see where it goes and what the next age that we enter in and what that next thing is going to be. How do you move on from, if everyone has the capacity to create their own content or create their own product or service and monetize it, how do you move on and advance from that?
That's a great question because
we did humans as a civilization lived in ages where only certain people were able to gain income or whatever the income was at the time based off what they could do. But it was everyone didn't have the same chance.
Yeah.
Right. The Stone Age, different ages throughout civilization where you had to be skilled in a certain trade or be taught that. But now it's like everyone has the chance to make money and for free. Social media, for the most part, I believe platforms are for free. I'm sure there's like an advanced level of social media that you can subscribe to for a higher payout or something like that. But for the most part, you can start it for free and then take off from there, So it's not, I think it's more inclusive than anything. You just need, a phone and probably an email account versus the different times that we lived in as a human race. It was pretty selective and exclusive.
Yeah. Obviously, there are bad sides to it, but to me, it's so awesome. The
fact
fact
that create your own podcast and have it already be the number 1 podcast in the world.
I mean, yeah, it's already number 1 on the charts.
Sorry, Joe Rogan.
Exactly, I'm taking over Joe Rogan. But literally, I can watch a YouTuber about hunting, and that guy's making millions of dollars just doing what he loves. How baffling is that? There are kids who's just talking about shoes. Maybe not millions, even if it's not millions.
Even if it's 6 figures, it's still a pretty comfortable lifestyle.
You're a kid and you're making that.
Yeah.
I mean, how mind-blowing is that? We're talking about grandparents, parents who had to maybe sweep chimneys or pick up trash for pennies. Now, fools out here are selling Pokemon cards, talking about Pokemon.
Now, they don't even have to sell. They talk.
Yeah.
They talk about it.
Yeah.
Make money. Talking.
Literally, you're in front of this digital device and you're recording yourself, you're streaming yourself, and there are literally fans that love what you talk about, yearn for what you talk about. Now, of course, we can get into the dark side of things, but I mean, how amazing of an opportunistic economy age do we live in, where if you are working hard enough, if you're passionate about it, you can talk about truly what you love, and you can do it for the long term. Like you talked about in podcast 1, you gotta be in it for the long haul. If you want to do it, you absolutely can make good money.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I love that word. Love that word.
that's how enthusiastic I am right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna start saying that now.
Yes, exactly. I'm not saying quit your daytime job to pursue it full time and just go bonkers. I mean, if you want to do that, by all means. But the fact that I can record with you, do a podcast, and send it off to the air, and have the opportunity of someone across the world be able to hear it and tell them a friend about it, promote it, and I get some sort of revenue from it. That's not the end goal here. I mean, I love talking to people, but that's an opportunity. I can make something of myself in that way just by making myself a commodity, not just what I do with Excel, PowerPoint, Word, not those skills, and not working for someone else's dream and making their company awesome. I'm working on myself to make my dreams a reality. And that, I mean, how could you not be in a favor of that?
Yeah, so I had the pleasure, the opportunity of meeting a 17-year-old TikTok celebrity recently. And why I'm so fascinated with TikTok is because of two things. One, the algorithm that they've set, the algorithm that they've created to have the viewer, it's the most attracting and applicable views and posts and stories to your liking and your interest. That algorithm that TikTok has is very efficient and really keeps you locked in. And two, that I believe, again, I could be wrong, that they are the highest bidder in terms of all the social media platforms.
Really?
Yeah. So he linked his PayPal to his TikTok account, and he was showing me that he was averaging months on average of $2,500 probably to $3,000 a month. That's 17 years old with like no bills and living at home for free. And I thought that was pretty neat.
I'm sure his parents are happy about that.
Yeah, they are. But here's the downside to that, where I tie all this back in, is he was granted the opportunity to be a college athlete, okay? Is on his way to play college sports, but had to sit down with the coaches and the board at the school that he wanted to play in. And they told him that he could keep the TikTok. They told him that he could keep his TikTok account, make money off of it, but he was not allowed to accept any sponsorships, endorsements, or sign any contracts while he was at the school playing for the NCAA.
Really?
100% all true.
So is he not going to play?
So he actually, from what I heard talking to his mom last, he actually finished out his freshman year, didn't like that he wasn't getting paid to play, transferred to a bigger school, right? Listen to how smart this kid is, 17 years old. Transferred to a bigger school, and because when he told me that when he stepped on campus at the first school that he was playing sports at, right, he agreed to it. He was going to play his freshman year, loved sports, wanted to play college baseball, but wasn't going to accept any endorsements, contracts, and really grow in terms of revenue that he was going to get. That people already knew who he was when he stepped on small little school in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And now he's going to a bigger state school where he can further expand his celebrity status and his content at the school. And now all of a sudden have all of his classmates tuning into. So you just went from a 30-person classroom watching your TikTok stuff to now 300 to 500. I mean, how smart is that kid?
But
for the coaches and the board at that school to step in and tell them, like, hey, this is – now, granted, I understand they don't make the rules, right? They're just the enforcers.
Yeah, they have to do that.
And I get that, right? So I'm not trying to shoot the messenger, but for them to tell him what to do in that capacity, man, that's just, But good for him, man. He stopped, transferred schools, went to a bigger school, and now knows how to use that school and how many kids are at that school as just another avenue to grow his job on TikTok.
Honestly, I didn't even think of that. So that is very smart, the way he utilized.
That was not me at 18 years old.
But I think, again, that's maybe even something I didn't even realize. Maybe that is a benefit. An 18, 17, 16-year-old is seeing the content they create is bringing in money. Because of that, of course, they can get immature and spend money and do all those crazy things when you're young, granted. But they're thinking at a different frequency. They're thinking, oh, how could I generate more of this? How could I do more of this? How could I utilize what I'm probably supposed to do, like go to college, but how could I still do what I'm doing, essentially running my TikTok business, making myself a hotter commodity by going to a different school, different, essentially platform, different people, a lot more people, and get that exposure. So,
I mean, think about that, right? You, in your company where you work, let's say you were just trying to make your podcast more known. How many people in your company living adult lives and having their own, commitments in life would actually take the time to listen to it, even come on it, share it, do whatever? And now you're going to a school of 20 to 50,000 people who have nothing better to do, whose world revolves around social media, and now you're getting their backing. Like, how smart is that?
Dude, that's a baller move right there.
That's some next level stuff, man.
That's stud.
That's his target audience. I mean, again, he just studied the game.
Yeah, shout him out. What's his thing?
Zeljin Jackson. Search him up on TikTok. He just creates funny. Again, love his mom, love his whole family.
Yeah.
And just a really smart kid and just surgical. He is surgical with the business decisions that he makes, and that's why I want to shout him out and name drop him and show him love, because who else is going to transfer schools and go to a bigger state school that, I don't know, maybe might be more expensive, maybe not, but the target audience is way bigger, and information on college campuses, because of the nature of the age of kids and their activity on social media, spreads like wildfire.
I think that's an investment move.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's 18 years old, already investing in himself and the content that he creates.
Exactly. He's using college. He's putting basically money towards college to have a bigger opportunity. It's like how should I say, LA almost. Like, there's so many people there. A lot of exposure. A lot of kids literally on their phones. And that is what he needs. And he's going there to do that.
Yeah, I think the move in itself even speaks volumes too, because, I mean, say you live in a smaller city and you hear someone of some sort of status was moving from Los Angeles, word would get around.
Yeah.
So now you're going to this bigger state school and you hear of this guy coming from a smaller school and you're like, who is this? I mean, who knows? Maybe the school's so big that no one cares that he comes, but maybe there are other TikTok, stars or celebrities that would even, co-host whatever with him. Right. So that's even more expansion, So, again, it's just a game of volume, right? And that's what I think it is that when it comes to creating your own content and posting on social media and building your own brand, the more people you can collaborate with, the more people whose hands you can get it in, the better. It's just a game of numbers, right? You went from a few thousand people watching your TikTok stuff and having a small school behind you to now possibly a 25, 30, 35,000 state school getting behind your content.
I mean, that's pretty, man.
Let that sink in.
Yeah. Very savvy, I got to say.
Surgical.
Yeah. And again, I think that's a very important thing about the age that we live in. We are, because of the content they make, because of the money out there, the opportunities out there, kids are getting smarter. Kids are being more methodical. Kids are being exposed to different things, maybe at an earlier age, hopefully most good than bad. But it's very impressive that a kid that age, when I would be probably thinking about absolutely nothing productive at that age, he's making moves like that.
Business moves.
Yeah, exactly. And that's gonna teach him so much. I'm sure he's gonna make a lot of mistakes, which he should, because he's gonna get better that way. But to get that experience, to be thinking at that level when he's in college, think about what he's gonna be doing when he's 30, 40, 50. I mean, very, very impressed by him. But yeah, that's super, super awesome.
Yeah, and I think the way to tie this back into sports, much like I was stating earlier, the exposure to that, sports-like environment, that team-like environment, unification, one goal, go after it. I think that the exposure when it comes to, having your full-time job be social media, I think the exposure that I'm proud of him having is he's 18, maybe 19 years old now, and he's already talking about contract negotiations. I wasn't doing that until I was 23, 24, and not everyone gets to even do it at that age.
Yeah.
So he has 5 years on me in terms of negotiating and fending for himself in terms of, dollars and revenue. 5 years of time ahead of when I had my first contract negotiation, and now he just gets to build off of that.
I mean,
does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
He just beat the learning curve by like 5 years, and not everyone even gets to do that in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
Right? Really fortunate and blessed to be able to do so, but he just beat it by 5 years. And now people even younger than him are doing it at 15, 16.
Exactly.
That when, certain companies, I don't know, slide into your DMs or email you and say, hey, for X amount of money a month or a post, let's do this. Let's hash out the numbers. And now let's work. Let's collaborate. That's I never had any type of that exposure. And that's why I push for that in the most, respectful and responsible way possible, because he's learning. Right, when you build yourself up as the brand, you learn business very, very quick. Right, because it comes down to you. You have to very quickly figure out how much you're worth and how much you think you're worth, and you have to display that, and you have to execute once you sign the dotted line and agree. So that exposure at a young age is truly priceless, because not everyone gets to do it. People can barely do it nowadays when they go into an interview. Like we were talking about on episode 1.
That is true.
People go into an interview and take the first offer that they get, and now you're being offered almost the same agreement and pay. At 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
So I think the time that we live in of, every 16, 17, 18-year-old kid having to go out and work a part-time job at minimum wage, that might just be dead and gone.
Yeah. So do you recommend everyone out there to – so, okay, let me rephrase the question, because I think this might be a better question. So if teenagers come up to you and say, hey, should I get on social media and talk about whatever I like doing, would you say yes, or would you say no?
No.
Why?
I don't think it's for everyone. I don't even think it's for me. I have a website for my company, for my companies.
Yeah.
But I don't have social media. Just 'cause it's just not me. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So if anyone were to come up to me and ask for me, I'd have to, tell them to look internally and figure that out for them, It's a double-edged sword, And the thing that I didn't answer is that the scary part about all this, being able to create your own content, monetize it, have it paid for, is that a lot of misinformation, and people can still be paid off of that misinformation, and that content is a game of volume and needs to get in the hands of as many people as possible as quickly as possible. Which worries me the most is that rather than quality of content, it is now speed of content and how much, right?
Yeah.
So instead of having a single high quality news article or post or story or meme, it is now average to less quality. How much of it can we put out there and how fast? And to me, that is very worrisome.
That's absolutely true. Because, you see it with news.
Exactly.
Literally.
And what do kids, sorry to cut you off, but what do kids think of social media now as their news sources? I don't even classify the news stations on TV as like, wow, like this is what I should live, breathe, and die listening to.
Yeah.
Right? But now kids aren't even watching the TV. Now it's social media, and whatever news is projected on social media, they absorb, take in, probably don't process, right, at that age.
Yeah.
And that's how they see the world, or how it translates into how they see a part of the world. And that to me is very scary, which is why I say it's not for everyone. And it's really a parent-child conversation whether they take that route.
I think so. Of course, everyone's going to be different. But if I had to give a yes or no answer, I would say yes.
Really?
Are you surprised by that?
I am.
Really?
And I think what's more surprising about that is, did you experience that in your upbringing?
What do you mean?
Were your parents okay with, just letting you social media at any age and just full go diving into it?
When we were growing up,
Because I didn't have a smartphone until I got to college.
Okay, well then, yeah.
And I think that there were certain reasons for that outside of financial. I just don't
Mhm.
think I would have been responsible with it. And that's just me being very blunt and transparent and just knowing like my weaknesses and who I am.
Mhm.
But I think it was one of the best decisions my parents and I ever made.
Really?
I just didn't know if you were granted the green light at any age to do whatever you wanted on social media.
Yes, because I got my first phone when I was in middle school, but we didn't have social media back then.
That's
Facebook.
Facebook. I think Facebook was starting out. No,
Yeah.
MySpace.
Yes, MySpace was.
MySpace was my first one.
Yeah, me too. But back then there was no monetization. There was no the idea of you doing what you love, like, or talking about what you love and getting paid for it. It wasn't that. It was literally kind of just
Connecting with friends.
that was lit. That was it. It was very pure. There was no monetization back then.
Yeah, like there wasn't a catch-22 to it. It was, I'm just trying to see what my friends are doing,
Literally.
talk to them, probably talk some smack.
Yes, it's basically like if you're in school, it would be another way to communicate. Essentially,
Outside of school
stop.
hours.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. But for the parent, the reason I say yes is because, and I don't think my parent, like the how I grew up plays any effect, because my parents they worked literally every day, so I was by myself or with my brothers. So whatever I can do, it was just kind of up to me. I don't know. I think, and also my parents they never worked for anyone. They were always entrepreneurs. No matter how hard it got, they
Wow.
always found something for themselves. Maybe it's a little bit of that, but to me, I think when I think of the negatives, and they're definitely there, of social media, when I think of the positives, they're definitely there. And then especially to your friend's example, the 17, 18-year-old, that's another profound example. And obviously, maybe I'm thinking way too much into the positives of it, but if you're a parent or there's a good supporting cast to the social media star or celebrity, I think it could be a great way for them to find or do what they want to do in life, whether it's talking about soccer or starting your own company, doing these crazy things and living life at such a young age and making it your life to do these crazy things, an opportunity and platform to have a voice like that. I think that outweighs everything. And you can support your family that way. You can impact your community in a hopefully positive way that way. I would just hope that they don't go in the bad route of just becoming like your celebrity, drugs, the money gets to you, all the negative influences, yes, people around them. Obviously, you have to be, that's a valid concern. But I guess in my scenario is like, if you have a good supporting cast, which I hope you do, I would tell them to run and get on social media and do whatever you want to do. Post exactly what you want to talk about, what you're passionate about, because you never know. You may just end up becoming, you don't have to become big. You can just have, maybe through it, you can make, I don't know, $5,000 a month, grand a month. Shoot, you can give your parents that money. You can help out with that money, invest in that money to your retirement or whatever. It could be a vehicle to do something. And if you're talking about soccer or football, that's something you enjoy, like you're literally doing something you love. So what isn't that better than just spending your time playing Xbox all day?
Yeah. I think the $1 million question is, do the pros really outweigh the cons? From a communication standpoint, the ability to interact with people from all over the world, diverse groups of people, unreal, amazing, couldn't ask for anything better, right? But again, it just goes back to that misinformation. I just wouldn't want my kid, for example, which I don't have any, but hypothetically, I wouldn't want what they see to shape how they think, and for them to think that that's what reality is, right? So I think it's very important, depending on what you bring to the table of social media and what you're trying to do with it and how you use it as a vehicle, to separate the difference between entertainment and reality.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
No, I definitely don't take lightly of the negatives out there, especially because there's so much negativity out there.
Which social media could be a very dark place.
Very dark place.
For a latitude of reasons.
Yeah. And shoot, you can just say, hey, have a great day. But hey, don't tell me what to do, man. Go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I just said have a great day.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
But I mean, that's just what people are out there to do. I mean, there's going to be haters, and most of the time when people get on their phone, they're very in an emotional state, and they're happy to write whatever they want. I mean, because there's no consequences. Like, you're not going to say whatever you just said to me in the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's that's why I haven't really been a fan of social media, is because I'd rather be here with you, and whatever we have to say, we can say it face to face and figure it out, whether it be for the positive or for the negative.
Yeah.
You know, versus people get away with so much because they know they're behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
And it just like, which is one of my other grave concerns, is that what if we start to lose that, even with the capacity to interact with people from everywhere and anywhere, what if we lose how to talk to people face to face?
That's, again, that is an absolute valid concern, especially nowadays with COVID. There's less of or we're making it less priority to go outside and meet people. It's more virtual. Everything's virtual. The way we work is virtual now. But I think as a parent, you that's on you. You have to be able to teach the parent or the kid that. I mean, I know that's a lot of burden. That's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Especially for people who are working 9 to 5 and just busting their butt, and may not be able to take care of their child all the time. But I don't know. I guess I'm thinking in such a very positive light of social media, or not positive light.
No,
but
you're just like optimistic about it.
Yeah, I'm just very
I'm
like
a little bit more pessimistic.
No, which is, I think I should be more that way. I should be dead even.
No, you are how you are.
But I'm just saying that because, like, you can learn a lot of things. You can go through, you can post a video and there could be 3 comments say, go fuck yourself. But I think you can get through that and make yourself tougher, harder, and become a better, stronger person from it. I feel like I'm more, this is like the most like life coach, coming out of me. But I don't know. I think you should put yourself out there, go through the mud of it. The people are going to say negative things, but I think you should do it. And when you callous over that, when you get tougher from it, life will be a lot easier for you. Interacting with people will be a lot easier with you. Going through harder times will be a lot easier for you.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I was at the grocery store or just in a drive-through lane and talking to what looked like was a teenager, and they had an AirPod in and their phone out or around them while they were doing their job, and made little to no eye contact with me. And it's like, am I going to demand the world of people that work certain wage jobs? No.
Yeah.
Is it sad to see it go that way? Absolutely. Like, I can't tell you the last time, I saw a teenager working a job and I was in the same environment with them to interact with them. And it was just, standing up straight, tall, eyes locked in, and just waiting for you to finish before they started talking. Now it's head down, no eye contact, AirPod in, phone out, and just always just like attention span moving from place to place to place, right? And how much of that are we going to lose? How much of that is going to hurt just that human conversation and interaction, which I could totally be wrong. Everyone could try and be starting their own podcast and be like this right now, where we're face to face and we're talking. You're asking me questions, I'm answering, trying to wait for you to finish. But it's just, how much damage is that going to do? Where, I mean, social media has accelerated the attention span. How much has social media just brought it down a few notches, right? I was reading some other study or research that said that this is how many milliseconds or even seconds as a whole our attention span over the years has gone down. And it's funny how it started going more down as social media and entertainment started to grow and really just like the realm of technology with the internet boom in the 90s, and from that point on till now just started to grow, how those two had an inverse relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, though. That makes sense. You have, like, for TikTok, for example, the catch of it is that it's so to the point.
Exactly.
It's within 6 seconds, you have to capture the user's attention span and to be able to click on your profile and watch more videos, so, and subscribe. And it's literally, give me the dopamine hit right now, right here. If it's not like that, it's going away. And that's like with YouTube, like podcast clips. They want to see just the good information and then cut out all the junk. They want it now, and they want it, which is bad, right? Because good and bad. Because
instant gratification.
yes, that's always bad.
Always bad.
Yeah, always bad.
So how do you, Daehan, believe and feel that we should counter that and be proactive in, really fighting against that?
I don't get paid enough to answer that question, but here, I'll do my best.
This is why we're running it back on episode 2.
Exactly.
Go subscribe to your boy's channel if you haven't already done so. Share, like, download, pay the man. Big questions getting answered on episode 2.
I appreciate that. That's a very hard question. I'll just come from a standpoint of what I know. Family structure. That is my rock.
Discipline.
Yes, discipline too. Faith. That definitely impacted how I think, how I go about my actions. I'm a believer in Christ. So obviously
Praise God.
Yes, of course. And my actions stem from that and the beliefs in that. So I guess you combat all those things by truly understanding what your family values are, your religious values are, and hopefully that is literally the foundational layer that when everything sways, everything falls, you're able to ground yourself, catch yourself on those, right? Be kind to people, listen to others, be respectful. Like, those are the principal foundation. Yeah, patience. Like, all those good things that you were taught from day one, from church, from your parents, from your friends. You don't go away from that. And when you have that concrete layer, I think you're able to, at the end of the day, you might fall, you might get into the trap of those things. Social media is a very powerful, addictive tool, I understand. But when you have a very foundational layer in who you are, very concrete about your family traditions, foundations, I think that is your saving grace.
So with that being said, at what age do you allow your kid to have an iPhone?
Oh boy, I don't even know if it's gonna be iPhone when I have a kid. Maybe it's like a digital glasses.
It's just a chip.
Exactly. Who knows?
No, but seriously, I mean, what roughly ballpark? What age?
I think it's not up to me. Well, as a parent, it is, but.
So you're telling me, kid comes up to you, 5 years old, in kindergarten, sees another kindergartner have an iPhone, goes up to Daehan, his father, and says, "Hey, Dad, can I have an iPhone?" Green light?
I would I would have to say maybe middle school or freshman year.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
I don't think I can answer my own question.
What?
I think that it just all depends on the maturity of my kid. And as they grow, it's a conversation.
Why do you tell me that?
It's a conversation that I'll have with my significant other.
Yeah.
Maybe include the kid, maybe not. But I think the floor would have to be late middle school, early middle high school. And more for safety. Don't get me wrong, more for safety reasons, just so I can get in touch with them. They can get in touch with me if anything happens. So from a communication safety standpoint, that's really the only reason why I am for it at that age. But for the point of entertainment,
it's not going to be just for safety purposes. You know that your child.
No. I know, exactly. But that's what I would base the decision off of, is the safety standpoint of it. I wouldn't say like, hey, I really think social media is like doing well, and there's a lot that you could learn from it. Which, sure, there is. You can, but again, it just has to be in like that responsible.
So if your son or daughter comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to make content about this," would you let him do it? Elementary school, middle school, it doesn't matter.
It would just have to be. It's such a case by case basis. I don't know.
It's your kid, man. How many case by case are you gonna have? Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
hopefully not many.
I don't know. It depends. That's a future question for you. But
I don't know, man. Great question. I don't know. I have to wait and see. And I can't answer that question until I cross that bridge. But I'll put that question on you for you to answer.
Okay, I think it's from. Oh, man, obviously we act like the man that makes a decision on the house. Clearly, that's not mostly the case. It's a dialogue, healthy dialogue. But if I was a sole parent, I would probably.
When did you get your first smartphone again?
Middle school.
Which grade?
I think 7th. And it wasn't even ultimate. It was like my friend's
And it was
dad.
one that had internet access.
It was, like the flip phone where it had the TV, like the thing. But that was it. There was no social media at that point.
Right.
Yeah,
but it still had internet access.
Yes, I could. But like my parents didn't obviously pay for that because, and I knew we were very money conscious.
Sure.
I was very money conscious at that age. So I knew I wasn't going to get that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So,
man, I remember my first phone was a Virgin Mobile prepaid phone, and every text that I sent, I can't make this up, cost 1 nickel.
Yeah, dude.
So I literally at night would be texting my friends in 7th grade actually. And I'm not trying to steal your answer. I think I literally got it in 7th grade, but I'd be texting my friends late at night, Friday night, Saturday night, and I'd be like, hey guys, I got to go. Like, I don't have much money left on my account balance. Because we would have to, back in the day, buy the prepaid cards.
Yep.
And somehow upload the card to the phone.
Yep.
And whatever you did on the phone would charge off on that account balance.
Yep.
And I just remember getting text and sending texts. And I would just check my balance while I was getting and sending those texts. And it'd be like 5 cents, 5 cents,
yeah.
5 cents, 5 cents.
Every time you send it or every time you receive it?
I think it was both.
Shoot,
I definitely think it was both.
That
Well, you got to remember, it was a prepaid phone.
Yeah.
So it was everything was kind of like a pay as you go, and that's what the big selling point of phones at that time were.
Right.
Were that, hey, you could spend as much as you want, or you could spend as little as you want. It's all pay as you go. And now we just live in a world of one free flat price, not free, but one low flat price, and everything's unlimited. So definitely had to keep track of how many texts were coming in and going out when I was younger.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. Yeah, crazy to think how far we've come from that and how I couldn't even get the only thing I'd listen to on my phone rather than, Instagram videos and Spotify were like already pre-downloaded ringtones on the phone. They were like 15, 20 seconds.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see how much we've progressed in just 15 years.
That's true. Yeah, it really
fifth or sixth of a life,
Yeah. If you could advise someone that's younger, that's growing up, how do you find that fine balance between social media or not even a content creator, just as a user of social media? Because I don't think anyone can get out of it.
Right.
Especially in the day.
You can't run from it.
The younger generation, because that's all they're going to grow up with. You see little babies with iPads, phones, just playing games on it. So,
to your point, I have seen, again, their parenting choice, but I have seen children not that old already on iPads playing games, figuring it out, playing around, getting on the internet. And I'm like, what?
So how do you find a fine balance or how do you try to advise a kid to find a healthy balance where my envision of a perfect way to use social media is like business, marketing, and all those things, but also to be able to understand that stuff that some people might say about you or comment on it's just horseshit. It doesn't mean a single thing.
There's negativity on the internet.
Yeah, I think that is an understatement.
Which, by the way, if anyone ever speaks negativity about this podcast,
oh my Lord,
I'll forgive you.
By the
I'll
way,
forgive you. You're dumb. You're stupid. I don't like you, but I'll forgive you. Number one podcast in the world.
All about forgiveness, right?
That's right. But no, seriously, I think it would come down to that controlled environment, like you were talking about, and just being in control of that exposure. What I would love for my kid to do is go through the same thing that I went through and see where that stands in the times that he's growing up in and how different it is then. So maybe that appreciation, that responsibility hits a little harder to home, So I would love for my kid's first phone to be a pay-as-you-go phone where he has to pay, I don't know. I don't even know if they make them anymore, if they could. even when that time comes. But if he had to pay, I don't know, say a penny for everything he did on a phone, I think he'd be a little bit more responsible with, how much he was on there.
Yeah.
Right. What he did on there.
Yeah.
And I think then again, I'm not a parent, so I can't say, but just giving, a kid a phone of any age with full access to everything, totally not. I think there needs to be different stages and different levels of exposure, all controlled by the parent and what the parent believes in. And then just healthy dialogues and conversations along the way. But I promise you this, if I live to be a father, which I hope I do, and I have a kid, that he's going to know the meaning of work, hard work, value, money, and hopefully all those things will play a role into the decisions that he makes. I mean, first and foremost, granted, raising the kid in, Christ-believing household.
Yeah.
But specifically in the world of iPhones, technology, access, freedom, stuff like that, you just can't give them everything that they want with a full go and green light. It's got to be controlled and mitigated.
I agree, but I'm sure,
like if I made you, when you were in 7th grade, pay, I don't know, say a quarter every time you took a phone call or made a phone call, I think you'd be more selective maybe as to who you called and who you didn't call. I know I'd be.
Yes, but do you honestly think that as that teenager, do you think they're not going to rebel? Do you think they're not going to hate you for doing that?
I'm sure that again, I think it just goes back to the healthy conversation and dialogue part of it. I think if you can just get them to buy into the end goal, even if you have to drag them from the start line to the finish line, hopefully that goal and the life lessons learned from that goal will overcome whatever it is that they think their peers are doing or getting, and what their peers are not getting in terms of experience, exposure, and life lessons. So hopefully, now again, that's a lot to ask, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah.
But that's life.
I laughed because I feel like if there's any adult listener who's a parent, they'd be like, these two fucking idiots don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
For all the parents listening to the show,
dialogue, are you fucking kidding me? Like with my teenager, you're stupid.
I know. No, first of all, shout out to parents and parenthood. I can't imagine what that journey is or how much of a struggle that is, but a blessing, still a blessing.
Sure.
So, but take everything that we say with a grain of salt, and that everything could drastically change like that if we have kids, right? So I can sit up here on this amazing podcast and talk about what I'm going to do when I have a kid, if I have a kid. But, that's just in my...
Are you gonna come on the podcast and tell the world that you have a kid on the first...
I will have the gender reveal on the podcast. What episode number it's going to be, I don't know. You're going to have to stick around and find out. So hit that subscribe and like button and share.
I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I think you need to say more.
I don't know.
Because what happened, because in all seriousness, I sent out the first episode to just close friends and family.
Yeah.
And just going back to the attention span thing, I'm sure they clicked around.
Yeah.
And hopefully they clicked around and heard of, a possible sponsorship deal or how to subscribe and get more content, which, by the way, shout out to Fiji. We have Fiji water here with us. Yes. Some of the cleanest, purest, tastiest water on the planet. So shout out to Fiji Water and the Fiji Water Foundations for just trying to preserve the rainforest around the world, doing good things.
Yep.
And hopefully we can secure that Fiji sponsorship soon. So anyone working for Fiji that's listening to this podcast, hey, just give it up for your boy. Hopefully pass the word along and maybe we can score that collaboration.
Hey, this podcast is coming like a freight train. It's coming. That's going to make it big.
Alongside with some of the cleanest and purest and tastiest water in the world.
We are supportive of Fiji, the water. We love water.
We love rainforests.
Exactly. We love all that stuff. So anyone that's a listener of Fiji or the CEO of Fiji, please reach out. Reach out.
For all CEOs listening worldwide.
Yes.
Hit that subscribe
button. I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free.
But then we'll have to hit you with that price tag later.
Eventually, but all fun. But no, I really do appreciate you always. I think you are literally the biggest fan and very supportive, always giving me ideas.
And not to cut you off, biggest fan without really being present on social media.
That is true.
Right? There are ways you can support without being on social media. And again, it just goes back to the relationship that you have with the person and whatever they're doing. And like I said, anything I could do to just further expand and market this thing, man, it's just awesome, man. What other podcast out there? Watch you like tomorrow or this week or next week, just get a bunch of messages from like other podcast holders. Like, how dare you thrash my podcast? You know, we put out high quality content too, which don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are podcasts that do, but and again, it's very subjective. Like, how can you quantify the criticalness of a podcast and what they're talking about and the subjects and conversations and dialogue, et cetera, et cetera. But of all the podcasts that I've listened to, tuned into, watched on YouTube, what other podcasts are just like this intellectual? And that's not to brag on my intelligence and your intelligence or our intelligences just working together, but just why aren't we just having more critical discussions about hotter topics? You know?
Yeah, I that's what I want to talk about. I mean, I think that's the whole purpose of the podcast is to have a healthy dialogue with someone that's sitting across from me that might be my best friend, a friend, acquaintance, coworker.
Could be a stranger.
Absolutely stranger. Or just someone who has complete opposing views from me, but to be able to sit down and have a non-aggressive, like healthy dialogue and exchange ideas and both go our separate ways in a safe way, and just learn something and just, you know.
Right.
We should have more of that.
We should. And again, to bring things back into the topics and the conversations that we have.
Yeah.
Does social media promote that or demote that? Because we're sitting here and have been sitting here for an hour, hour and a half, maybe a couple hours talking, having a healthy discussion, just picking each other's brains, right?
Yeah.
But how much on social media are you getting that in the like section or in the comment section or on a post or just sharing a post and just moving from one piece of information to the other without really discussing it face to face, eye to eye?
I think I'm the wrong person to ask. No, seriously though, the reason I say that is because I'm a type of guy who will do whatever I need to do to make it the content, and I'll post it, and I will probably not look at the comments unless it's like really not positive, but like people who are reaching out for help, whether it's like losing weight, like what I do, like with like health stuff. But now with podcasts, I of course I appreciate support and things like that, but I'm really not I don't care for people's negative opinions or people I don't know. Like, obviously I'm going to care for my family's opinions, like close friends, but other people I don't know, I really don't care for it. It's not in a cold way, but I just don't know you. So I'm sure the other people who are content creators, they really do care, which is great. But one single negative comment will hit them really hard. Where for me, someone can just say, "Go fuck yourself." I'm like, I would literally just read through that, skip it. It's not gonna affect how I
might even like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I might comment and say thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, thank you.
Thank you, I will.
That is, I was very bored. I might do that. I might just go fuck myself. That is a great one. That's, but like, it just doesn't
And on
me.
the next episode, we're gonna talk about go effing yourself.
Yes, exactly. That's actually, we have a minute to wrap up because we've been doing for an hour and a half actually. So if you can best summarize in a minute or two of the podcast and for the summer that's coming up, if I'm a person who is going to be hosting an event or anything along those lines for weddings, parties, señeras, fiestas, whatever.
For my event company?
Yes.
Oh, that's exclusive, man. That's exclusive. That's word of mouth only.
Oh my God.
I mean, I have a website, no social media for it.
Yeah.
But that's pretty exclusive, man. That's word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's just the marketing tactic that I have. That's not,
true.
I mean,
That's true.
You could have the worst company in the world and be exclusive. You could have the best company in the world, be exclusive.
That is
It's
true.
whatever you want
Absolutely.
it to be.
Yeah.
But right now I'm comfortable with just being word of mouth and just having a website, no social media pages.
Yeah, I mean, only
just I mean, the point, at least with that events company that I do and the event planning that I do, I'm trying to get to the consumer as fast as possible with no barriers of communication between me and who might hire me, right? I'm trying to get you on the phone as fast as I can. I'm trying to get you maybe texting me as fast as I can. I don't want you to have to go on my social media website, which takes you to my website, which takes you to my email inbox.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you on the phone with me or in person as fast as possible so I can make that pitch and make that sale.
Hey, don't worry about it, everybody. If you are in need of a host, planner, just event planner or anything like that, you hit me up, and then word through mouth, I will hit Roman up.
You know where to find me.
Exactly. Yeah, just hit me up, and then we'll do it.
Hey, let me ask you one last question before I get cut off. Is that what is your plan for this summer and where we are now as a nation and where this podcast is now? What are your plans this summer to just make it bigger and badder by the time fall rolls around?
So I am moving this weekend. So the good thing about that is
tough news.
On Memorial Day, I am moving. So I'm out of the baby is leaving Richmond at 4. I will be leaving. I'll be moving up to the DC area. And the good thing about that is I always wanted an office. I wanted a studio where I can make a visual podcast. So,
which we have a studio right now for anyone that's listening.
Yes.
But we're upgrading studios.
Yes. So I will be moving into my new house and reserving a room.
You hear that? Your boy is 26 years old, podcast maker, creator, and homeowner.
Yes. Living the American
How do those
dream.
titles sound? And having your podcast out of your house, out of an office. That's pretty baller.
That is the most exciting part about it. It's not the home owning part. I just wanted my own office where I can do work out of solely. To your question, I have plans of a visual podcast,
YouTube series coming soon.
All that stuff. I'm taking baby steps, but I'm just happy that I'm posting and recording and having consistent content on a weekly basis. I'm just proud of that. I'm just taking one step at a time.
Yeah, just like stacking up the episodes in the vault, right? And then just leaking them whenever you want to.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be consistent. I want to be fair to the listeners. I don't want to post on Monday and then try to rush it or be late and then post it on Sunday again,
Yeah, sure. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have all the free content in the world with everyone listening to it, or exclusive content that people can only get by paying a price?
I would have a lot more people listening, just so that hopefully I want to bring value. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to bring value to somebody. So if I can bring more value to other people, I'd rather do that. And hopefully I can, have outside deals that would somehow support my lifestyle, which doesn't really need a lot of money. I'm a believer in that. But I'd rather reach a lot more people than have a secluded pay thing and have less people, which I don't think is a bad option either. So again, testament to how difficult your question is, which is a great thing because that's critical thinking, which the podcast is about. But,
that's right.
Yeah, but is that kind of similar to your philosophy in terms of word of mouth and not social media?
If for that one company, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just how I want to operate. That's how I've built my clientele. That's how I continue to travel to the places and the cities that I go to and just keep that train rolling. Now, is that same strategy going to work for the other company or the other companies hopefully I'll have one day? Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's all for the entrepreneur and the founder of those things to decide,
Yeah.
But your boy's out here trying to change lives, man. Literally giving out this content for free, over $1. Right, you pay $0.00 just to listen to this. These high quality conversations. So stay tuned for more episodes to come.
I don't think I can end the podcast any better. Hey, Roman, I appreciate you coming on. Part 2. I think the
episode 2 in the books.
Yes, and I think people are going to wait for number 3. All right, thank you, everybody.